So yeah, my phone died. Okay, so I had to let it charge and then come back and do the finish the video. So yeah, I realized now that I think about it, I was really afraid of like extreme poverty because I'm poor now, but I'm not extremely poor. Okay, and what I feel now. Here's the thing. I'm going to try to approach this with maturity, although I know, well, I don't know. That's not good to assume, especially negative. Um, as a realist, I know that it's quite possible that some will not really be receptive to this video because one or more of the topics they'll think is silly because um, I think I broached on this earlier in the video, so I don't want to be too terribly redundant. Um, because they either subconsciously are repressing the feeling or the reality that we as human beings, these things make us uncomfortable, sometimes highly uncomfortable. Uh, you know, they're not necessarily politically correct feelings. Feeling as though intersex is confusing when it comes to your relationship with God, and being unsure about that. Um, Feelings that poverty, the question of poverty, especially extreme poverty, makes you feel uncomfortable, especially when you're relating to other people, and perhaps maybe even that starts to you start to, even if you don't say it out loud, make certain decisions and certain choices in regards to how much you are exposed to such extreme poverty. Perhaps you won't be, perhaps you will work more with, and I'm going to get on that, work around and volunteer with the very poor. Perhaps you will try to live a life where maybe you become extremely ambitious and it's one of your greatest efforts to never be around extreme poverty ever again, regardless of, how you approach it. I know that this video might not be well received because of the uncomfortable nature of the topics that many people might actually be afraid of. So getting back to fear of poverty, like, and delving deeper into it so as to take any type of fear away, right, and make it less mysterious, make it less scary, um since one can presume, well, because I'm here as the person, so I can speak with authority in regards to my own self and my life experience. Since someone who is poor can be uncomfortable and afraid in a situation where there is a relating to people who are even more poor than you are, and that brings feelings that are uncomfortable to you, but it wasn't until like today where I'm a more mature person and I realized it was a form of fear. um and here are the reasons why I will put myself out there for your sake, who you might not be ready to face these things that you might have going on with you. Some of these things might not concern you at all. You might feel perfectly comfortable with them. Some of them might absolutely concern you, but it's for me to put myself out there for your sake so that perhaps if you had fear, they can be really quieted and even go away completely because someone else has mentioned it and explored it, and now it's no longer much of a mystery. So in regards to this, all right, what is this and what is it when you dig deeper? What is it really? Is it really being poor? It can't be really being poor because you're poor. Like, I'm poor. When I say you, I mean me. you're poor, like I'm poor, okay? So it can't be just that. It has to be something more, because it's something in regards to being that poor. And here's what it is. And I think that when I say everything I have to say, I think your mind is going to be blown, okay? So, with me, I was like, okay, I would have to reframe how life is supposed to look. Okay, so if I am going to relate, and I didn't, by the way, but if I'm going to, and I don't believe it was God's will anyway, so, but if I'm going to continue on to be in the company of this person and these people, I'm going to have to reframe in my mind what my life will look like. In regards to relating to them, I will have to come into a space and get used to coming into a space in which I feel as though perhaps this space should be better. Perhaps, and I know hopefully I don't get hate, but this space should be elevated. Now, notice how I didn't say that was wrong or right. I'm just being honest, okay? So I need to prepare myself, and this is me evaluating a much younger me. The reason why you are feeling fear, the reason why I am feeling fear, is because I need to completely change the way I thought I was going to, be going out, having fun, relating to people. And it will require me to learn how to be in a space that I'm not naturally used to, in spaces where I'm not naturally used to. And I am not ready. I don't feel prepared or ready to do that, because I have not ever been this poor, okay? And so it would be a learning curve for me to retrain my brain to be in a space in which, to be in spaces and places in which, yeah, that are abject poverty. In addition to that, when I explore this new life, once again, that's, this never materialized into anything really, but presuming I explore a new life, I set out to explore this new life with my family, naturally, and they also would have to learn, and they're really cool, so I think they probably would, but learn how to, relate and be in this space, spaces where there is abject poverty. I think they would have been okay, cool with that, but then I thought also, if I were to have children and they have, I thought a lot. Obviously, I'm a thinker, so that's what I do. If I have children, they would naturally, because they would be born into it, right? Born into abject poverty. Once again, I'm not laughing at, anybody's situation, but I mean, it is, some things are kind of funny. Nonetheless, nonetheless, they would be used to it because they were born in it. But then also I thought, well, but what about if they have friends and like their friends like wanna like do stuff, like literally pretty much anything. And I like to talk about real stuff here. If they want to do anything, there's not much, they can go out, to play and, and go places, I suppose, had, But am I comfortable with with people knowing, do I feel any type of shame in regards to my situation? And is that the best me? Is that the best me? If I'm not organically from that. I have no organic experience with abject poverty, and I'm obviously not organically fitting in. So it'd be a difference if I just organically was fitting in, and organically maybe even was used to it. But this is not, now here's the thing. I could, yes, learn those things, and I could swallow any pride and any discomfort, and perhaps even just deal with a little mild shame or embarrassment that I'm so poor, and have, people over and have, friends over. But then I thought to myself, this sounds like a monumental task, and it's great that it's great things don't work out all the time, because now I realize that, first of all, it wasn't God's will, but second, and it's not because necessarily the poor, but that could be a factor. God is a realist, and I'm not saying poor people can't love or be married, but what I'm saying is, please stay with me here, because I typically speak well. I might take a long time, I'm wordy, I get that, but typically I speak pretty well. Okay, so what I am saying is that it was genuinely not God's will, and it would have been a monumental task for a young woman to undertake, especially unilaterally with someone that's not, hey, let's ease into this, because I can tell you are not used to this. And I suppose if I just throw you into it, I could possibly make you highly uncomfortable and lose you altogether, which but it didn't work out. I think it was just too much of a monumental task. Okay. But is the fear still there, though? First of all, I'm making this video. So is the fear really still there? So ironically, fast forward in life, okay? Serious topics here. Serious, authentic topics here. Fast forward in life, I do experience homelessness, okay? Something else that also can make people extremely uncomfortable. So I realized even just knowing that can make people extremely, now I don't set to make people extremely uncomfortable for the sake of making people extremely uncomfortable. Like, I felt uncomfortable. But as a realist, I just know that that is a possibility, that some people might find that very uncomfortable. But here's another reason, besides me not wanting you to be afraid, but also, like me, there's certain things where you just can't throw someone into something. It could be any topic that I mentioned here. It could be the intersex. There's certain things that you kind of want to, maybe even give someone a book, or let someone watch a video by themselves, no pressure. Maybe not even mention the topic yourself. Or maybe even read some medical material or something. But you don't necessarily want to throw these are topics I've specifically picked because they were topics that one could say, if it were not for the goodness of God, I would be genuinely afraid. They're not things that you would equate with fear typically. But that is why God has so much word in regards to the heart, the mind, and courage, because he knows that many of the things we struggle with, other people can't see. And they go so much deeper than what you can see, right? Like, you're scared of the mean dog down the street. Well, duh. Most people can see that. But most people can't see if you're deathly afraid of rejection. Most people can't see if you're deathly afraid of being alone. Like, most people can't see that. But you know, it can affect people's lives greatly. So God likes to address things. But here, I like to be honest. I like to be authentic. I like to be organic. I like to be bold and courageous. But I do appreciate that these are not necessarily topics that you want to throw someone into, because they are possibly a struggle for many people. Okay? So going back to the poverty thing and the whole becoming homeless thing. The other reason that I mentioned, and I'm not babbling, see, that I did not forget that I was going to go into, that I'm mentioning these things are because when we are afraid, another reason why God does not want us to be afraid is because when we are afraid of something, like when we are genuinely afraid of something, we are more likely to do something that is sin. We are, first of all, the actual fear is sin. But when we are feeling the actual sin of fear, we're going to move out of perfect love, which is a barrier to sin, and we are going to do something wrong. We're going to say something wrong. We're going to behave in a certain wrong way. We're going to become prejudiced in a certain way. We're going to judge a certain way. And many times when we judge a certain way, it does create prejudice, and it creates barriers between people that are not necessary. And if only someone had more love, which creates more courage, these things can be addressed properly, not necessarily by throwing people into a situation where they are the water is above their heads, but just using just common sense approach to matters and saying, you know what, I think this situation is making you uncomfortable. Let's talk about it. But you know what, not here. Let's go somewhere else that you're more comfortable about. Let's chat for a bit, something just like that could change many people's minds in a healthy way, not necessarily for the other person, even though yes, for the other person, but for you, because it's not good for you to hold on to those fears. Okay? So getting back to my being homeless. So once again, even homeless, because remember, this is the United States of America. So even homeless, I was living pretty well. And it's okay. You can laugh. You can laugh because it's both true and funny at the same time. Okay, so this is America, so I'm not cold out these parts. I'm not hot. I'm not freezing. Okay, well, I had situations that were bizarre and crazy. Okay, I could have been a whole entire show, but I'm not gonna go there. Okay, I don't feel led to do that. But nonetheless, for the most part, I'm eating good, I'm eating well, and I'm sleeping fairly well, and I'm living fairly well, because this is the United States of America. I'm in an American shelter, so it's hard to not live, but so, while you're on American soil, and even if you have no home. So the situation is, okay, one of the problems with fear in regards to poverty, which I believe is something that people secretly struggle with, sometimes because they're ashamed. Sometimes they don't know that that's what it is because it can cause people to judge, okay, so you're homeless, so you're crazy. Okay, well, I believe crazy is an actual psychological term, and I've never been identified literally as crazy. I guess that's up for you to decide whether you want to think that or not. But I believe that's actually a medical diagnosis. I've never had that diagnosis. So that is not necessarily true. Here's another thing. You are homeless, so you're a druggie. I've literally never done a single drug in my life. Some would say I am square as a literal Rubik's Cube. Okay? So that is not true either. Well, one will say, well, you are homeless. So, because now they're struggling, right? Now they're struggling. So you must come out of an abusive relationship. Yes, that's what it is. You're coming out. No, I'm not going to get into it to protect other people's privacy. But no, I wasn't coming out of an abusive relationship. I was homeless because I didn't have enough money to not be homeless. That's literally legit what it was. Like, I love myself very much. Had I had enough money to not be homeless, I would not have been. I can laugh at my own situation. Yeah, I would have put myself in. I will always try, as long as it's God's will, of course. I will always try to put myself in the nicest spot I possibly can, as long as I'm happy. And well, first of all, as long as God is okay with it, I'm not compromising, and I'm happy there and I'm comfortable. I will try to find the nicest place. Like, you can rely on me. Like, if I were to, I have no man. I have literally nobody. No one is waiting in the wings, just in case you're curious. But if I had a husband and he knew me well, he'd be like, I'm not concerned about, like, especially if she has some, I know she has access to money. I'm not concerned about my wife not staying somewhere nice and safe because she has access to money. And as long as she has access to that money that I know she has access to, she's going to find the nicest place for her to stay. This is truth. And that hypothetical imaginary man would be speaking well. That would be highly accurate, okay? So it was a situation where I literally I don't have the funds to support myself, so therefore I am homeless, okay? So, that is that, you know? What about the struggles, right? Like, what is honestly, be honest. Like, I'm talking as if I'm you out there. As someone who had that experience, what was the worst part? What was the worst part? What was like so, like, I mean, I could never, but I would never ask, because it'd be so rude. I would never ask, like, yo, like, can you tell me what the worst part of being homeless is? Homeless person? Like, no decent person is gonna do that. But you have me here, okay? So it's okay because I'm no longer homeless, okay? So you don't have to feel any guilt. But also, it's from the horse's mouth, okay? So it's authoritative. So at least in my case, it's two things, okay? It's two things. And I did talk about it in other videos, right? I don't talk about it much, but I talk about it in other videos. Two things. Safety is absolutely an issue, even in America, where you probably are going to have some of the best shelters that you will ever have on earth if you have no funds to support yourself as an adult, okay? Safety, you can't get past the issue of safety, not even in women's shelters. You just cannot. And anyone who is telling you, apart from a miracle, because God can give you a miracle. I believe in miracles, okay? I live miracles. But he did not do that for me. Okay? So I've had some experiences that I feel he may have wanted me to learn so that I can, be a deeper, more rounded person. And indeed, that is what that did. I had to work with other people, it took more than me, and I'm a really smart gal. I know that sounds not humble, but it's true. So I was smart enough to align myself with agencies, governments, cops, like anything and anyone I could think of to get through this experience where my safety is constantly in question. I swallowed my pride because I like to do stuff by myself and handle stuff by myself. I swallowed my pride and allowed myself with anyone who was willing, including my mama, and my sister. I would allow myself with anyone who was willing to align themselves with me, okay, to get me through this very trying time where my safety is genuinely, I'm not imagining, my safety is genuinely an issue. I'm homeless. And people who are not, they're not necessarily monsters, but they can do some things, okay, because they have come from, they are perfect and complete strangers. I know nothing about these people, and I'm not a scary woman. So they literally had to do things, right? But also, if you can imagine, because people, lots of Americans, they want to, especially when you donate, when Americans like to donate or like to give, they like to believe that what they're giving into is perfect. And I will say, you need to accept that both things can be true at the same time. I'm not ragging on shelters. I feel like I stayed at one of the best shelters in America. But two things can be true at the same time. A shelter can be worthy of donations. A shelter can be exemplary, but still not safe because of the nature of what it is. You have people who are complete strangers, and these people accept pretty much anybody off the literal street. And you are going to sleep in the presence of people you do not know, who come from every direction of life. Some who do, not all, who do have drug problems. Some who do have rap sheets. Some who do have these things and have come from domestic violence situations, mental health issues, minor, middle, major. And in this instance, when you go to sleep, you need to remember where it might be America, but baby, there's like 6 of them and 1 of you. Okay, so don't sleep on that. So it is what it is, okay? And pretty much one will say, well, what makes you so special? Well, first of all, now, and I'm not going to presume that you do that, but just to answer that, for just in case one person comes and thinks that, first of all, that's the devil more than likely speaking to you. So you won't receive wisdom from my source. And second, it isn't, I don't have to be special per se to have valuable wisdom that is better that you know. Perhaps even if you never experienced it, you could share it with someone else and it'd be helpful for them. Have you ever considered that? That maybe it's not just all about you, that it might be about someone else that you could give helpful information to? So let me continue. All right. So please understand that 2 things can be true at the same time. While you should continue giving to shelters, and some shelters, like I think the one I came from, are exemplary. I had many issues there. Many. I believe it was exemplary. However, shelters, no matter what you would like to believe, if you want to hear the truth and receive the truth, shelters are inherently not safe places. I would suggest, if you know someone who is at risk, that you prevent homelessness altogether, because I'm an honest person and anything else would be dishonest. If you cannot prevent it in total, I would have the understanding, you don't even have to share this video, you don't have to make it awkward, but I would have the understanding, call me when you need to call me, I will be there, literally. Call me 3 a.m., 2 p.m., anytime. Call me on the weekends, call me during work, whatever, if you have that relationship. Because shelters, no matter what you want to believe, the truth is they are inherently not safe. So and if you are thinking of going into a shelter, right, I don't want to freak you out or scare you. The whole point is not to be afraid. But you should be aware before you go, because many times people believe the beautiful Lifetime movies, right? They believe the movies. They believe, oh, this wonderful support group that loves on you and everything, and nothing could ever happen to you bad there and stuff. And women are crying on each other's shoulders and holding each other's. And many things can happen like that. You will find moments like that. I'm not gonna lie, but it's also not inherently safe, because you have to just use common sense. These are strangers. Even the shelter doesn't know these people, cannot vouch for their character. They're strangers. And the shelters sometimes could get lucky and have mostly nice homeless women or homeless men. And from my understanding, and I'm not going to go into it, but I have some authoritative information on it, meaning I know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to say something I don't know. But it's my understanding that men's shelters are even more dangerous than women's shelters. Okay, but both are inherently dangerous. I would just like for you to be empowered with the information that, first of all, if someone is at risk, you should take it seriously, because if you can prevent the homelessness altogether, that's the best course of action on your part. Second, okay, I mean, that is if there's not a serious crime problem, a serious drug problem, you know what I'm saying? Second, especially if it's just about money, like you literally, like, I know people, you might think I'm like, what do you call it? Radical here, but you could, especially if it's a woman, just give her the money. Like, just give her the money. But then even a guy, like if it's a guy that if it's your brother, you know, hook him up with a job. Like, make up a job. Like, especially men they do need jobs. But make up a job for your brother. Make up a job for your nephew. Do what you have to do if you can prevent home, especially with money. That's like, I'm gonna say money has got to be especially for a woman, it has got to be like the lamest reason to be homeless. Seriously, I went through that stage of life where I feel like for women to be homeless because of money is almost insanity. Like, where has America fallen? Like, if it's not drugs, alcohol, insanity, or something like it is, I feel like it's crazy, right? But I know many people may not agree with me, but I feel like that's just crazy. But nonetheless, the second option is to, like I said, you're that go-to person. You don't even put it on someone else. If you know somebody, because you might know somebody, well, this person works in protection. So like, I have a friend that works in protection. Like, we could show up like this if you ever, maybe, right? Or even you might know, like, you might even suggest a shelter that's closer to your spot, a shelter that's closer to someone else's spot that's about that life. And you're not looking for trouble. You're not looking for trouble. But if trouble wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning in the shelter, okay, and a friend needs loving assistance, then you can be there in like 10 minutes, okay? So, yeah, I mean, that's what's up, you know? I'm just a realist, and I know that, especially with the church, these things might make people uncomfortable, but these are the very things that people need practically to get through this thing called life, okay, realistically, okay? So, being a support system can be profoundly valuable. It is, if you cannot just give the person the money, if you can't just give them employment, okay, make up a job for them if you have to. Desperate times calls for desperate measures, right? Like, yo, we have a new position. You don't have to say, because I know you didn't make rent this month. Awkward. You don't have to say that. You can just be like, yo, we have a new position. You want it? Okay, because the first of the month is like in 3 days, baby. Okay. And I counted your tips and they ain't adding up, okay? So, it is what it is. It's good to help people out. But if you can't, from the horse's mouth, someone who knows what they're talking about, been there, done that. I'm not talking about books. I'm not talking about a movie. I'm talking about my life. Okay. If you cannot completely prevent it, being a support system can be tremendously valuable. Going back to, because I almost forgot, what was the safety? There's another one, but only two things. Only two things. And yes, I did have a baby. I had a baby in that shelter with me. I know. Like, wait, hold up. Girl, no. You were unsafe with are you talking about like a baby, like you're a dream, or are you talking about, I'm telling you what I'm telling you. You need to, some of y'all, you need to grow in street smart. I'm telling you, I had a baby and I was still not safe. Okay. It did help a little bit. I could tell that I was getting a little bit, but come on now. The devil stays busy. At a certain point, the devil is like, well, I think, because it's the devil. And at a certain point, the devil don't care that you have a baby. I know. You want my channel to be so nice, but it just won't be, because that's not how life is. It's just not reality, okay? So I'm sorry. I know I talk about difficult things, okay? Okay, like people getting jumped in shelters or worse sometimes, right? And babies are not a shield at all. No, right? I'm sorry that I killed that, that beautiful dream that you have of what shelters look like, especially in America. I'm sorry, but I can't let you walk around with that and be deceived, okay? That shelter was amazing. It was amazingly clean. It was impressively clean also. I was shocked. I was in a good way. So it was impressive. And I'm a woman who, I've had a strange life. I've been exposed to, like Paul, I've been exposed to huge mansions. And I've been one, I ain't gonna fib, but nice things. And I have been also homeless. I've had the craziest life. So I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm sorry for your disappointment that it is what it is. So you don't want to go to a shelter unless you absolutely have to. And preferably if you know how to fight. And if you don't know how to fight, you should know somebody that knows how to fight. And if you don't know nobody that knows how to fight, you need friends. Even if they're temporary. Even if it's the cop, the lawyer, your uncle, mom, whoever. You're gonna need friends, potentially. Unless God works a miracle, because I believe in miracles. And if Joseph can get through prison, you can get through, y'all can, I'm not gonna wish that, I rebuke it in Jesus' name. But if Joseph can get through prison, someone can go through a shelter. Okay? I had to acquire allies. I had to swallow my pride and accept as many allies as I possibly could stack up. That's the only way I got through it. True. Sue. Awkward. But we faced it, right? So, support them. The second thing is not having, and this is going to, I'm sorry if it makes you cry, or because it's going to reveal something about me that is really deep, and I typically don't do this. Actually, I do. But I genuinely don't have that many inner issues because I'm always working on inward stuff, as this demonstrates. But this is something that is, I hope it doesn't make you cry, but if it does, it's okay. Okay. But not belonging was extremely difficult. It wouldn't really hit until like you're at like a place, and this is I'm sorry if this is gonna sound so sad, it is right? But like you're at a place and then the place closes or something like that, and you're like, yo, like, and it, but then it clicks that like I really don't have like anywhere to go for like a few hours or something. And that is the worst part. It was not, now I know everything, homeless people are individuals, poor people are individuals. For me, individually, it was not belonging anywhere. Like I could be anywhere in this world, but if I know I have a home to go to, and it could be anywhere in the world, like even if I can't really get to it, I'm like, well, but I have a home in DC, or I have a home in Detroit, but right now I'm in Alabama, and I'm not sure how I'm gonna get. Like, how can I get? I can't really get a ticket back to Alabama. Excuse me, DC or Detroit. Let's say that, but it's something, and I'm glad that many of you will never know what this feels like. It's something comforting to know that I just need to make my way. I need to hitchhike. I need to maybe work maybe and save up some money so I can pay for the ticket, pay for the plane ticket to get back home. But I have a home, okay? I just need to find out how I'm gonna get there, because somehow, some way I'm all the way over here and I have no money to get back. That's a bad plan. But when you are at a place and that place is closing, or the place simply like you realize like you were going into the CVS or going into CVS and you have the soda, you have the chips, you're like, you know, I'm leaving here, but after I leave here, where do I go, you know? And as horrible and as humble as that sounds, that is the truth. Like, that was the hardest thing. It's like there is no place to go, and that happens like depend upon the individual every single time they go anywhere. Depend upon the individual, because I'm certain that doesn't happen to everybody, but it's one of the most difficult things. It's not having money. It's not even actually like theoretically being homeless. Like, I suppose if I never left the shelter hardly, then you can actually not feel that very much, because you're typically there. You can almost even treat that as your home. But when you leave the shelter and you go anywhere, you're like, okay, well, where do I go now? And you're like, well, I don't have like anywhere else to go. And you realize, well, especially like I think like the shelter like had hours, and that made it difficult too. I kind of wished that wasn't so, because what happens was during a certain part of the day, like you really were like, it really I'm not gonna lie, it sucked royally, because it's like, wow, I'm just gonna like sit like on this bench or something, like, and just like think about how like it's not good. Think about like how I have like literally no place to go. It's terrible. I'm not trying to depress you. I'm not trying to depress you. I'm trying to just be real. Like, remember, everyone is individuals, but for me, that taught me something I didn't know about myself. I need to belong somewhere where it's not that you can be here, it's that you have a right to be here. It's different. And I know like some people are not, I know some of you are not Christian, not old-fashioned, don't agree with me on some things or many things, right? Feel like I'm a fanatic, okay? But I do believe every man should be able to have a job, and I do believe that no woman especially should be homeless. I believe that with all my heart. But it is true that like for me, like that makes all the difference. Like, I like to know I have a right. I have like a moral and a legal right to be here. And if I don't have that, then that messes with me. And I feel like I'm not the only one. I feel like if I feel that way, there has to be others, possibly even so men too, but there's others who I want to know two things: that I have a moral and a legal right to be here. And no one can be like, you can't be there. You can't sleep here. You can't come past the threshold. I don't like that. I like to know that I can be there and I have a right to be here. Okay? And it's unfortunate. It's really sad that that's not necessarily the case. Like, you would think that every child would have that right. And I would like it to be extended with mothers and even women. For every man, I'm not so sure about that, but I believe genuinely every man that wants a job, I believe he should have one. Seriously, I'm dead serious about it. I'm very serious. I know you may think I'm bluffing, but that's why many of you might think I'm a fanatic out here. But I believe a man has a right to a job because he needs it. Okay? He needs, most men are going to want to be with a woman. They're going to want to know that, like, I can approach her at some, if not now, in 6 months, in a year, maybe if God is good and Tom Terry, 2 years. But at some point, I can, because I might not be doing everything I want to be, but I am doing something. I'm a working man. It may not be up in like CEO, but I work, and I can approach the woman that I want to be with. And I can say, like, sincerely, like, I do believe you should respect me should we ever get there. I do believe that because I do work. Okay? And I believe it's wrong when a nation puts its men in a situation where they can't have that. I believe it's genuinely wrong. Because I'm like, how can you be a strong nation and you don't even like your own men when they're trying? I'm not talking necessarily talking about trifling. And I'm not talking about disabled either. And there's many ways. There's disabled. You can see there's disabled you. Some people are broken. Some men are broken. Especially from, and I'm not trying to rag on women, but black single mom home. Okay? Because of the overbearing, and I know I'm saying something that might make you hate me, overbearing single mother, black especially. Before her son gets out, he's messed up because she was acting in that place, not to be unkind, but she was acting like a hardcore man. Many times for stuff he didn't do. It was dad. Dad did that. I'm paying for what dad did. But he's not in a place, if we would be perfect, people don't talk about this. And some of it is sin. It's the sin of selfishness because a lot of other men don't care. They don't care about the well-being of their brothers. They don't care. And I've come to accept and realize that about the church. It's true, right? They have jobs open. They give it to a stranger. And I'm not saying that's not necessarily the best decision sometimes. But sometimes, like, when you have someone sitting right next to you and you go over them, that's a special kind of ugly. I won't be fake here. That is, you know they need that job. And you see them every single day. That's ugly as hell. I mean, you know that that's the answer that they need. And they're a decent person. I'm not saying give a crackhead a job. But you know they're a decent person, and you might even know that this man loves that girl that sits in the second row of the church every Sunday. Been wanting to approach her for months, can't do it because he has no work. No, he has no work. How can his life go forward without a job? And you a whole entire CEO, you sit right next to him, and you give it to someone that you just met last week, and you've been fellowshipping with him for years. And then people wonder why people stop coming to church. They wonder why people question if the church is relevant. The church is, the actual body of Christ is relevant, will always be. But many people who call on the Lord's name have nothing to do with him at all. Because how can you, that's a special kind of, and don't pretend like y'all haven't seen it. And because I'm using black vernacular kind of, I know some of you white people, you know exactly what I'm saying. You've seen somebody do something very ugly, and maybe you never even said anything, but I know you've seen someone do something ugly as hell. Like, how can you watch somebody struggle and you have the answer? You have the answer. It's right there. And you pass them over for a perfect stranger that you've never broken bread with, you've never worshiped with. That's ugly as hell. And I like the saying that people used to say. They don't say it no more. Probably because a lot of people are doing ugly. God don't like ugly. He doesn't, okay? And I don't like it either, okay? Moving on, okay? So homegirl likes. Now I know sometimes we can't always say, at that time I didn't have that. But I didn't even know I needed it. I didn't know I needed it. Now I'm gonna say, how can you know you not need a place? You can have a place. Oh, come on. Lord preach. Lord preach. Madam, lest we miss wisdom here. You can be shacking up. You can be even with a friend, with a coworker or family, and feel like you are a burden, you're unwanted, you're an imposition. You can't eat nothing, you can't drink nothing, you shouldn't be here. I don't really want you here. Come on now. That is not the same thing. Get deep with me, okay? It's not the same thing. You know when you are celebrated and when you are less than tolerated. I'm not even saying you're not even truly being tolerated. And many people, I'm one of them, I don't like being in situations like that. Like, frankly, I would rather be almost anywhere else, including a shelter, quite frankly. If you truly don't, you just don't want me around, I'm like, all right, bet. Let me find another way in life, because anything has to be better than the strife I'm getting here, okay? Because this is pure hell, right? Like, what you don't pay, look, what you're not paying in money, you're paying in peace. So every time, you might not be paying rent and money because you don't have it, obviously, else you'd have your own spot, but you're paying for it in peace because of all the strife, because I don't want you here. I don't really want you here. Maybe they can't even, like, and I'm not even saying monsters, because I'm a realist and life could be sad sometimes. Maybe they really can't. They really can't. It could be a single mom, 6 kids. She can't really afford me, you, right? But nonetheless, breaking it down, some people really do not do well. I'm one of them. I would almost pick any other place than to be living in that kind of strife. I mean, I don't like strife. I don't want to come home. I might want a home, but not at the expense of my peace. Not that at the expense of my sanity, okay? I wouldn't be, I don't know about you. I can't even digest my food. I can't even really digest my food when I'm in turmoil, right? I need peace to eat. And I can't really eat if you're sitting next to me, like, glaring at me, like, why are you here? I resent you, you suck. You gotta laugh sometimes, right? I can't really eat like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, wow, it could be the best food, like, it could be some steak and some shrimp, and I'm like, I can't believe I can't really eat the steak and the shrimp no more, because I feel like I'm just gonna go to my room because the vibe is just not good. Like the dining room just feels so uncomfortable that I'm just gonna go off to like the den or something, because this is crazy. Like, you're putting off the worst sort of get out vibes, okay? So yeah, it is what it is. Um, so another thing, okay, sociopath, legally diagnosed sociopath, not someone that you don't like, not an ex that you don't like anymore. So you have diagnosed them as a sociopathic narcissist. Because there's a lot of that going on the internet. And everybody thinks that their ex is a sociopathic narcissist. I'm glad to report that I don't believe any of my exes were a sociopathic narcissist. I don't think that, I'm glad that I didn't marry any of them. But it's not because I think that they were sociopathic narcissists, okay? But this is, I believe that, with this actual medical diagnosis that some people have, it's my understanding. Well, first of all, we go back to the Word of God. The Word of God says, I've given it to everyone, for the most part, to know right from wrong. But we also know that there's context with the Bible, with the scriptures. So we can't take the word out of context and then call the word a lie. That's foolish. We won't be doing that. But nonetheless, from my understanding, especially I was listening to a woman, and when I say that, I'm not slighting her, because she was giving information like I'm doing with you. She was conducting an interview in which she was gladly giving information. I noticed people were really judging her, and they were judging her very harshly, which was quite unfortunate, because I found it refreshing that she was willing to tell so much of her business, and I was actually really appreciative of it, because I love to learn, okay? And so I felt like, wow, this is a safe way for me to learn, about sociopathy and sociopathic people. And so I noticed that the comments were extremely harsh, but the comments were also extremely self-serving, I noticed. And I wonder if that was coming from fear, because they were like, I'm so glad I've never met a woman like you. I'm so glad, like, please don't ever come in my life. Please don't, stay away from me. And then some females especially, they were like, I am a very thoughtful and caring person. I'm like, okay, like, many people can accept you're thoughtful and caring by you actually doing thoughtful and caring stuff. That way, you don't actually have to say, I'm a very thoughtful and caring person, because people will know you're a thoughtful and caring person, because they can see you being thoughtful and caring. I'm just saying, just a suggestion, So, a lot of women were like, yo, look at me. I'm so much better than her. And I was like, wow. And so I like to learn, and I'm a watcher, and I study human behavior. So I'm studying all this and taking it all in, taking in what she's saying, taking in the comments, and I found that very intriguing, actually. That response to her and to her authenticity and who she was, a sociopath. And so I thought about God, because that is what I do, and that's the most important thing, okay? So I thought about God, and I thought about this woman and God, and her God, okay? Because he is her God, even if she doesn't know it. So I thought about this woman and God Almighty, and I'm like, well, what I found really awesome, by the mercy of God, is she seemed to understand right from wrong. She feels no guilt, I believe, no guilt, no empathy, don't feel remorse, guilt, or empathy, or something like that. But she said she knows right from wrong, and I was like, there you go, the mercy of God. But you know right from wrong. So you can still walk in love. You can walk in love as you're commanded to walk in love. Because love is, I will not slap you. I will not lie on you. I will not steal from you. And you can do that. And I was just learning, and I was enjoying learning, as well as like simultaneously learning more about God too, because I'm like, look at you and look at your work, because this woman is a diagnosed sociopath and she still knows right from wrong. I'm like, look at your goodness. Okay, so she was expressing these hues of herself, of her personhood. And I was listening to the information, trying to learn, as I love to do. And the more I listened, the more I was like, wow, look at your goodness, Lord. Like, because what I was most concerned was the most important thing. How can you relate to your God? I don't think she is saved. But how can you relate to your God? Because that's what you need. That's what we all need most. That's what's primary importance. And I'm like, these people, right? First of all, we are called to love these people. And the Bible calls Christians to wisdom, a call that too many ignore. God does not call us to foolishness. He does not call us to stupidity. And many people focus on some things like giving and stuff, but they neglect some things as to being sharp and being wise. Those things sometimes are neglected. Sometimes the other things are neglected, but sometimes people go in extremes. So they are nice, but they neglect being wise, you know? And so in this situation, I see where two things could come into play and interplay very well, actually, where this woman, she can go to the Word of God, should she ever decide to. And she can, even with her diagnosis, she can obey, and she will automatically, she does not have to have the feeling. One could say she almost could be benefited from that in a crazy sort of way. She don't have to have a feeling, because many Christians rely on feelings, and that makes them unreliable. So many of them have lives that are lacking, lives that are really actually shameful. They don't seem consistent, and that's disheartening to both Christians as well as heathens that see them and see the inconsistency. Okay, see the men that, I mean, she's not a whore technically by trade, but spiritually, yes, because they see the men. There's no ring on her hand, there's no ring on his hand, and it's maybe once a year. It could be, once a month, once a year, once every couple years, but they see, they're not blind, and they may be cool with it, but they know, I mean, of course she's sleeping with them. And that becomes the norm. That becomes the norm for the fake American Christian. Because that's what a lot of them, we are. I'm not, but that's what a lot of people are. Fake. That's it. So it can be disheartening. But the ones, there are some who take it seriously, who are actually the remnant. And it is disheartening. It can be. Many of us are used to it, and we protect our hearts. We guard our hearts. But it used to be, especially for me, very disheartening. But no longer. But nonetheless, it is when someone knows that you call yourself Christian and they see this person you're not married to, you're going into their house. It's midnight. Like, I doubt you're going to pray. Okay, if you come out 5 minutes, wow, like maybe someone just had to go to the restaurant. I would have picked a really late restaurant or a movie theater or something. Or even a family member's house. Just to stay on the up and up. Right? But man, okay. But no, if you come out the next morning, we all know what's going on. But as far as this woman and her diagnosis, it struck me that, like, once again, they were afraid. They seem to be, I'll say. They seem to be afraid. They're like, let me protect myself. I hope I never meet anyone like you. Wow. She has a medical diagnosis, and she's actually trying to be helpful on a platform whose sole purpose is to educate people, and the first thing you do is degrade her and embarrass her. And I'm like, what? Like, sometimes people do stuff and I'm like, what was that all about? Like, I can see if she said something to you personally that was from the left, but like, she's literally trying to educate you. And why are you taking shots? And she's easy to take shots at because she has this medical diagnosis that she's made public. So it's low-hanging fruit. Like, you pick on someone who hopefully will never see your comment, but nonetheless, even if you pick on someone who actually has a formal diagnosis. So this is something that she presents with that is not good because it's a illness. And rather than say something constructive like, I'm praying for you, because that would be like courage. And I know that it's uncomfortable to present that, yeah, you should think like that. Because that's love. That's courage, right? Like, I've never met anybody like that. And I hope I thought I would be perfectly honest. I'm not sure I'm ready to, deal with someone who has such a extreme diagnosis, but I'm praying for you. And honestly, I'm glad that my wife doesn't have that diagnosis, or none of my children have that, because I'm not sure I would know how to deal with it, But, and that would be, Lord, I believe, but help thou my unbelief. I'm afraid, but I'm working on it. I'm uncomfortable, but I want you to know I still love you. And I'm not going to let my uncomfortableness make me do something mean to you, treat you in a degrading manner that is undeserved. You didn't do anything to me. But the mere thought, mind you, this is human behavior. The mere thought that there are people in this world that might have a one-up because they don't feel remorse and guilt, etc. The mere thought of that and not having complete control caused the comment section to attack someone who never attacked any of them. And because everyone else was doing it, it just snowballed. So I make a mean comment, you make a mean comment, you make a mean comment, you make a mean. I am so glad I don't have that well, that's how diagnoses work. Thankfully, most people don't have every diagnosis under the book. So what kind of comment is that really? But nonetheless, this is fear. And fear causes you to be cruel to other people. We've mentioned, I forget how many things, but I think 4. But we mentioned some things here, some things that are very, not very discussed. Some things that you never think about that could cause you to sin. Yeah, really. We've mentioned intersex people who we are called to love, but people who we may never fully understand their situation. Also, that our relationship with God needs to be solid because He is God. This is a mystery. He is God. Despite of this mystery, He's well aware that these people exist, and we are called to love them. I mentioned abject poverty. Another thing, if you try to find because you're afraid, you need to find a reason for that poverty. But if you're so obsessed with finding a reason, you may project a reason that's not true. Every impoverished person is a crackhead. Every impoverished person is a thief. Every homeless person is a prostitute. Or every homeless person has a drug problem. But that's not true. But rejecting fear can help you to deal with the fact that that's not true. And it can help you deal with the bigger fear that you are afraid it will happen to you. And that is why you need it to be. That is why you need it to be CEO. That's why you need it to be housewife. That's why you need it to be church. That's why you need to find a reason. Because you need to say, it can never happen to me because I'm not that. But actually, it's the mercy of God that I don't drop down dead and now it's the mercy of God that I don't wake up with a huge genetic illness. That's happened to people before in midlife. Tomorrow, I rebuke that in Jesus' name, but it has happened to people. It is the mercy of God. Many horrible things can happen to us, but God protects us from those horrible things. Many times he protects us from things we have no idea he protected us. He protect that person that asked you for $1. The devil came behind and they said, rape her. And you never knew the conversation because God said, don't do that. But you never knew. So because the person said, God bless you, and walked away, you take it for granted. But do you take it for granted? We know, if you know the truth, you never take anything for granted. So every moment that your heart doesn't forget to miss a beat, every night your baby doesn't forget to that's a blessing. Every day you don't wake up with a weird genetic thing you had no idea of, that is a blessing. When you have a bouncing baby and the baby is alive and looking at you and happy and everything, that, even if you are homeless, is a blessing. Because there's some people, they have their baby and their baby has no life. So even if you don't have a home to take that baby to, the fact that baby cried and is looking at you is a blessing, even if you don't have $1 to your name. Okay? So, furthermore, that's what it is. And I don't want you to drown, and God doesn't want you to drown. So you can watch this video slowly over months. You can watch this video slowly over weeks. You can watch this video in privacy. You can watch this video after prayer, before prayer, or during prayer. But nonetheless, you can watch this video. Approach these things that's a real reason, even if you don't know it and you never admit it. You'll grow so much. You will grow overnight in ways that Satan will hate, and I'm glad about that, because that is the real reason. These subtle things create huge problems in the body of Christ, in politics. When you are able to get past these things, you will make better laws, you will make better decisions, you will feel more comfortable in more places, you will be a more happy person, you will be a stronger person, you will be a more resilient person, and you will make better choices that will not be based on fear. Okay? So we also mentioned, we mentioned that, and we mentioned sociopath. These people we are called to love. We don't necessarily have to marry them, but sometimes you do fall in love with someone who has this diagnosis. We also know that God is a healer. He can heal this person. He can heal someone with a formal diagnosis that has gone on for all their lives. God is the healer. But even if he does not, these people, at least with this diagnosis, they can understand right from wrong. They can be saved. We are to love them. Okay? We are to be wise, but we are not to be cruel. And women, why do you so struggle to make other women, to humiliate other women? If you look in the Bible, all the women that God highlighted, for the most part, they didn't do that. That should tell you something. So I hope truly that you were blessed. I know that the truthfulness of this and the authenticity will bless you. It's a matter of you receiving it so that you can be blessed. Because indeed, if you receive the truth, you will be blessed. You will not be deceived. You will be empowered with information. And even if it's something that you marinate and work with God, be in His presence, marinate in His presence as He grows you, you will be a powerful, richer, authentic, and stronger person because God wants only the best for you. And so do I. So you be blessed. Bye.